And I know it wasn't announced that Caitlin Clark wouldn't play until right before, but this is a preseason game where Clark is not available, and yet you probably...
You want to body slam me? Fine, I'll drop 21 points on you. That was essentially Sophie Cunningham's response after Mystics' rookie Kiki Aron delivered a flagrant foul that could have injured the Fever's new addition.
This proves there is an agenda against the Indiana Fever. There is an attack agenda.
In a preseason game that was anything but friendly, the Indiana Fever showed something we rarely saw last season: toughness, unity, and the willingness to stand up for each other. Even with Caitlin Clark sidelined with a nagging left leg, the Fever proved they're no longer a team to be pushed around. It was the birth of a new identity for the Indiana Fever, one where players like Cunningham, Hall, and Bonner showed they won't back down from anyone. In this video, we'll break down everything that happened, Sophie, and the Fever's spicy response, and how the Washington Mystics reacted. Post-game after the bullying, if you stand with Indiana, comment spicy Sophie down below. Let's go.
This is the first time we're witnessing this. They're attacking Sophie Cunningham just like they did Caitlin last year. There is an agenda against this basketball team, and I'm calling it out right now. The league better step in immediately. They better step in immediately. We better not be dealing with what we dealt with last year with Caitlin.
What we dealt with last year with Caitlin. What happens when the face of your franchise sits on the sidelines for the Indiana Fever? It meant facing their preseason opener against the Washington Mystics without Caitlin Clark. This wasn't just any absence, it was Clark's first missed game in 5 years, spanning her entire college career at Iowa, and rookie WNBA season coach Stephanie White made the tough call to sit out Clark, who was dealing with what Clark herself described as a little tightness in her left leg. We need to think long-term, White explained, protecting her star player with a grueling season ahead featuring 4 more games than last year. Smart move for the future, but it left the Fever incredibly vulnerable in the moment.
I mean, look, the biggest thing is we got to think long-term. Like, we got to make sure that we're not putting Caitlin at risk for injury. We're not putting our team in a position, where we're thinking short-term and not long-term. It's a long season, 4 more games than last season. So we want to make sure that we're extra cautious and put her health and wellness first and foremost. And honestly, it's been one day at a time. How she's reacted to treatment, how she's reacted to workouts. So positive progress is being made, but we can't be short-sighted.
Picture this: the Washington Mystics, sensing weakness, came out aggressive from the opening tip. Their physical play set the tone, early pushing the Fever around and daring anyone to step up. In Clark's absence, the Mystics smelled blood in the water, and for a while it seemed like they might run away with an easy win against a Clarkless Fever squad.
Came out very slow, very lethargic, very stuck in the mud, very dragging ass, didn't have energy to him, didn't have flow to him.
Despite all the early struggles and double-digit deficit, the Fever showed something remarkable: resilience. The absence of their superstar became not an excuse, but a challenge. Other players began to find their rhythm, the defense tightened, and suddenly that massive lead didn't seem so insurmountable.
Stephanie White seemed frustrated. We were down 15. Stephanie White called the timeout, and she must have stuck her foot up her team's ass and said, you see this arena? You see all these fans that came to watch you guys? 12,461 people. They didn't come to watch you guys bullshit. They didn't come to watch you guys drag ass. Let's play some defense and let's get it together offensively.
As both players battled for a rebound, Ian grabbed Cunningham and violently threw her to the hardwood. The crowd gasped. Teammates on both sides froze for a split second, and then Cunningham sprang to her feet, immediately getting an eerie offense back.
Lexi Hull looked the most confident I've ever seen Lexi Hull look. Lexi Hull looked the most confident I have ever seen Lexi Hull look, putting the ball on the ground, taking it to the rack, shooting threes, middies, turnaround fades. Whether they went in or not, we can get into that another day once the season starts. But the fact that she's confident enough in her game to where she's at least willing to try to do something to make the offense happen, to create points, to create confusion among the defense.
Do that, you don't do that, Cunningham shouted, her words crystal clear. Even from the broadcast, the officials quickly stepped between them. But the damage was done. They reviewed the play and assessed a flagrant 1 foul against Erie, off in a call that frankly seemed lenient given how dangerous the play looked.
Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull, these two players. Sophie Cunningham gave us 21, Lexi Hull gave us 13. The Blonde Bombers is what they're calling them. We were down 15 in the first half. Why were we down 15? We cut it to within 3 at half.
But the Mystics weren't done targeting Cunningham. Later in the game, Brittany Sykes delivered another unnecessary shove, sending Cunningham crashing to the floor again. It wasn't subtle, it wasn't basketball. It was bullying, plain and simple, a clear pattern emerging of Washington players singling out Cunningham.
I know it wasn't announced that Caitlin Clark wouldn't play until right before, but this is a preseason game where Clark is not available, and yet you brought...
Standing on business. The Fever's bench erupted. This wasn't the same Indiana team that got pushed around last year. Dana Bonner, another veteran addition to this squad, immediately stepped in to confront Sykes, showing the new protective culture developing within the team. The message was clear: mess with one Fever player, you mess with all of them. What's most fascinating was how these incidents transformed the entire game. The Mystics thought they were being tough, thought they were intimidating their opponent. Instead, they awakened a sleeping giant in Cunningham and unified the entire Fever team. The officials reviewed both incidents, assessed penalties, and the game resumed. But something had fundamentally changed on the court. The energy had shifted. The Fever players weren't backing down. They were fired up. Coach White later described Cunningham as a dog, basketball slang for a player with relentless fight and heart.
Kiki Arafin, and I got to tell you, here we go with the smiling like you've done. I don't get it. This is the worst part of the WNBA. It is.
So what sparked these confrontations? Was it frustration from the Mystics as their lead diminished? Was it a deliberate strategy to intimidate the Fever's new addition? Whatever Washington's plan, was it completely backfired? Rather than breaking Cunningham's spirit, they unleashed her competitive fire. Rather than intimidating the Fever, they unified them, and rather than securing a victory, they set the stage for one of the most satisfying comeback wins you could imagine. The Mystics tried to bully Sophie Cunningham, and they were about to deeply regret it. How do you respond when opponents try to physically intimidate you? Sophie Cunningham had a simple answer: drop 21 points and lead your team to victory. That's exactly what she did following those brutal confrontations with the Mystics.
I mean, yikes. Kiki, the new Kennedy. A lot of people not happy. Demon Sophie, yeah, she showed up. Look at this. They're celebrating that. Okay. I mean, it's crazy. Here we go again. She's yelling while Kiki's laughing in her face. Never seen a rook have a vet so rattled.
After getting body slammed by Erie, often something visibly changed in Cunningham's approach. The anger in her eyes transformed into laser-like focus. You could see it in her movement. More decisive, more aggressive. She wasn't just playing basketball anymore. She was making a statement. Cunningham started attacking from every angle: mid-range jumpers, drives to the basket, three-pointers. Her offensive arsenal was on full display. The Mystics kept trying to body her, bump her, throw her off her game. But with each physical play, Cunningham only seemed to get stronger, more determined. Her efficiency was remarkable, going 6 for 1 from the field. That's shooting nearly 55% at the free throw line. She was even better, knocking down 7 of 8 attempts for an impressive 87.5%. This wasn't just volume scoring. This was calculated high-percentage basketball in the biggest moments.
Oh my God, Sophie's a dog. She just is, she's a competitor. She's versatile, so she allows us to do different things. Like, she plays with such a toughness. She's huge, and she's going to be for us all season long. But what she brings from an energy standpoint, she raises the level of play of everybody around her as soon as she steps foot on the floor. Hell, even on the sideline. I mean, her communication, everything. She's definitely an X factor.
Austin looking backdoor and got it to Cunningham. You guys know what else we're seeing in all these videos. Movement ab.
Lexi Hull gets a nice steal here, runs down the court, finds Sophie Cunningham, who pumps up the...
Drawn on the drive. High arcing pass. It was too high. Hull pulls down the rebound. Here's Cunningham again. Cunningham, coast to coast. What a first half for Sophie Cunningham.
And this is as we've clawed back after being down 15.
As the fourth quarter unfolded, the Fever's comeback gained serious momentum with Cunningham at the center of their attack. The Mystics' lead evaporated. What was once a 15-point advantage had disappeared completely. The game headed to overtime, setting the stage for Cunningham's final act of revenge in the extra period. Cunningham took complete control, clutch baskets, crucial free throws. She delivered when it mattered most. The Mystics players who had tried to intimidate her earlier could only watch as she systematically. I saw Sophie Cunningham.
12 points, 3 rebounds, 1 steal in 11 minutes off the bench in the first half. Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull played a majority of this game for the Indiana Fever. And they played together a majority of the time they were in this game. Sophie Cunningham showed exactly why we brought her in here. We won that trade hands down. Hands down, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We won the Sophie Cunningham trade.
White didn't hold back her praise. She raises the level of play of everyone around her as soon as she steps foot on the floor. Hell, even on the sideline, her communication, everything. She's definitely an X factor. The irony was perfect. The very player Washington targeted ended up being the primary reason for their defeat. The intimidation tactics completely backfired. Instead of breaking Cunningham, they unleashed her. How did Sophie Cunningham respond to being body slammed by Kiki Iran by torching the Mystics for a game-high 21 points, grabbing 8 rebounds, and delivering the knockout blow in overtime? The message was crystal clear. You can try to bully Sophie Cunningham, but you'll regret it when she makes you pay on the scoreboard.
Austin looking backdoor and got it to Cunningham.
You guys know what else we're seeing in all these videos? Movement. AB up. There comes Kelsey around the top. There goes Lexi Hull back door. Sophie Cunningham back door. Lexi Hull goes back out to the corner. God forbid, folks, we are seeing things that we haven't seen at all last season.
When the final buzzer sounded at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, something much bigger than a preseason win had just happened. We witnessed the birth of a completely different Indiana Fever team last season. This was a squad that opponents could push around, teams would get physical, and the Fever would often back down. Not anymore.
Sophie Cunningham playing out of this world made me feel good. I saw ball movement on offense, made me feel good. I saw no volleyball passes on, made me feel good. I saw fight from everybody that was on the court at once. There was no 4 versus 5 when it came to fight, heart on the, we weren't lacking that today. We weren't lacking heart at all. And in case people thought this team might be lacking some heart, you got one thing coming to you. You think you're gonna be pushing around Sophie Cunningham like that? Don't worry. Sophie, I got it.
The most telling moment came after the game. Washington Mystics players, the same ones who delivered body slams and schvests throughout the night, refused to shake hands. They walked straight to the locker room. Why? Because they had just watched their own tactics get turned against them by a team. They thought they could bully. Over 12,000 fans packed the arena and created an electric atmosphere. The crowd erupted with every defensive stop, every made basket, and especially when Fever players stood up for each other after those cheap shots. Sophie Cunningham noticed, calling the fans the sixth man and crediting their energy for fueling the comeback.